Are you a permanent resident or green card holder and you're really scared to travel outside the United States, or you're sitting outside the United States and you're scared to come back because of all the noise that you hear on social media and the news? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about, is it really something to be scared of? What you should think about when you are traveling these days as a permanent resident or green card holder, and how to avoid any issues in the future. I'm going to tell you the truth. Hi, and thank you for joining me to talk immigration. My name is Andrea Szew, and I've been a U.S. immigration attorney for over 20 years, and I started this YouTube channel to give you clear, concise, and easy to understand information about all different topics related to U.S. immigration. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about something that's really important because I've gotten tons and tons of phone calls about this. Are you a permanent resident or green card holder and you are scared to death to either travel outside the United States, or you're outside the United States and you want to come back and you're scared that they're not going to let you back in? Well, in this video, I am going to break down what the real reasons are that they would not let you back in the country, and try to give you more perspective on what the reality is and not what the social media posts and the news media is putting out there to scare you half to death. Let's talk about the truth. Okay, so you are a permanent resident either in the United States or you're outside the United States, and you need to figure out, is all this hype that's online, on social media, on the news media, about you not be able to get back into the US, is it true? Well, I'm going to go through the reasons why you would not really be able to get back into the United States and try to clarify and clear the air on what is really going on at the borders. So you have the truth from an immigration attorney that does this every single day and has been doing it for over 20 years about what is really going on. Not what social media tells you, not what your friend's story is, but what is the truth and what is the reality, and how can you avoid getting into a situation where you're not going to be allowed back into the US. The real story. First and foremost, what is going on at the borders right now is not, absolutely not, what social media and the news media are making you believe. There were a few cases in the United States, which we don't have to get into, that have put fear of God into so many of you out there, making you think that a resident can get their green card pulled at any time. If you leave the country and come back, you're not going to be allowed back in. If you're in the country, they can come to your door, knock on it, and pull your green card out from under you. That is not true. Having a green card or permanent resident card is not going to protect you from everything, but they cannot just come and take it away overnight. There is rules, there are regulations, and there are laws that they have to follow in order to take away someone's permanent residency. You have to usually, most of the time, affirmatively give up your residency, or there has to be a reason grounded in law to take away your residency. But you can't just from one day to the next make your residency disappear just for whatever reason that the government feels like they can do that. That is not true. It is not true. In a lot of the cases that you're hearing about, there are legitimate reasons why the resident card was taken away and the permanent residency was stripped from the person and they were deported. There is legitimate reasons. It was not willy-nilly. It wasn't just because someone didn't like the person. There was actual legal reasons for them taking those away, taking the right away from the individual. Let's talk about a few reasons why and how the government can take away your resident card, besides you voluntarily giving it up. So one reason is if you are outside the country too long. If you're a permanent resident, they expect you to live in the United States. Your home is the United States. So if you leave the United States for too long, then the assumption is that you're no longer considering yourself a permanent resident or resident of the United States. You have left the United States. So how long is that period? Well, a year outside the United States continuously will cause them to presume that you've abandoned your residency. So if I'm out of the United States for a year and a half and I come back to the border of the United States asking to come in with my permanent resident card, they have a right to claim that possibly I have abandoned my residency. I no longer am a resident. I've stayed out too long and have kind of severed the ties with the United States, so I'm no longer considered a resident. And they will probably defer me into a court hearing to make the determination, did I actually abandon it, or was there reasons why I left that would cause them to believe that I didn't abandon it? But a year outside the country is dangerous because that is a presumption of abandonment of residency. And a lot of times you'll be turned away at the border. You have to go back home and figure out how to get that reinstated for you to come back into the country. Now, if you're gone out of the country for more than 6 months, but not more than a year, then the suspicions start rising. Why were you out of the country so long? Did you abandon your residency? I'm not sure that I believe what you're saying when you're saying that you left for X and Y reason. So when you leave for more than 6 months, the questions will start. Will they send you back home? Unlikely. Will they ask a lot of questions? Probably. So you need to make sure that you're prepared for that and you understand that leaving the country for more than 6 months is going to likely cause there to be more questioning when you re-enter the country. Will they take away your green card? No, they're not going to take away your green card if you've left the country for 7 months. They are going to just inquire and be suspicious of why. Okay? If you have left the country for 3 months and you come back, does it mean that there'll be no questions? Absolutely not. What if you come in and out like 20 times in the last 3 months? What if you're gone for 3 months and then you leave and you come back in the US for a week and then you leave for another 6 months, or you leave for another 4 months and then you come back in for 2 weeks and then you leave for another 2 months and then you back in for 2 days and then you leave for another 5 months? Well, yeah, all those trips are under 6 months, but cumulatively, that's a lot of time outside the US. So what do you think the officer is going to think when you come back and see you've only been in the US kind of like 4 weeks through the whole entire year? Why? What have you been doing? What's going on? Have you abandoned your residency? That kind of activity in travel will cause suspicions, possible abandonment presumptions by the government, but not automatic, you're not a permanent resident anymore. Take it from you and go back home. Another reason why they will stop you at the border and maybe question you and maybe presume that there's an issue is if you have criminal activity in your record. So if you've committed criminal acts and you have a record, and that record is with crimes that can make you inadmissible even as a permanent resident, you are going to be stopped at the border. There's no question about that, okay? They're going to stop you at the border, and they're likely, possibly not going to let you back in maybe to appear in court, or they're not going to let you back in at all. But that is if you have criminal history or criminal behavior that would find you inadmissible into the United States. Okay? It's not like, again, willy-nilly, whatever, we don't like the way you look, we're not going to let you back in the US even though you're a permanent resident. You have to have a criminal history that will lead them to believe that you're inadmissible, either legally inadmissible or there's something going on in your criminal history that's going to make you susceptible to having your green card possibly taken away. Another reason why you might be stopped at the border and possibly have your green card taken away, or at a presumption of abandonment, because remember, they don't just take away your green card at the border. There has to be some process that happens, is if you have been out of the country, let's say 6 months or 8 months or even over a year, and they start questioning you when you come back, is not having your ties to the US sufficient enough. You need to have always proof of residency. Remember, when you're a permanent resident, your home is the United States. You are resident in the United States. The assumption is that US is your home and that you have sufficient ties here and you're not living as a resident in another country. The US is your resident home. So you need to make sure that you have proof of that for the officer if they ask. Make sure you have driver's license that's updated. You have bank accounts. You maybe have a job offer that you can show them that you have an active job in the United States. You own property in the United States. You have businesses in the United States. You have children in school in the United States. All these things will lead them to believe that you have not abandoned your residency, that you clearly were just gone temporarily and you're returning back home to the United States where you are a permanent resident. If you do not have any ties to the United States, you don't have a home, you don't have a lease, you don't have a job, you don't have a bank account, you don't have kids in school, you have no connection to the US, you have no family here, you have nothing. If you have nothing connecting you to the United States and then you leave for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, forget it. It's going to be a real hard time getting back into the country with that permanent resident card when you have no ties or no evidence that you actually are acting and living as a permanent resident of the United States. All right, those are 4 things, if you count the weird travel, that would cause you to possibly lose your residency. Now, again, it doesn't magically happen at the border. They don't walk in and say, give me your card. They take a scissor, they rip it up. It is an actual process that would occur because there is a presumption and there's evidence that the officer has that you should no longer be a permanent resident. Okay? But if you're a normal human being and you're traveling abroad and you've done nothing wrong and you're just in 2 weeks in Germany, or you're gone for a month to visit your mom who's maybe sick in another country, and then you come back, you should not be worrying or stressing about coming to the United States right now. Just like you shouldn't be worrying or stressing coming to the United States 5 years ago. It's all the same, okay? No one's getting arrested on a constant basis of people coming in the country for whatever reason. There is always usually a valid reason, or there is something going on with that person for them to actually have their green card questioned, possibly presumed to have abandoned it, sent into proceedings in the United States to determine if their green card should be taken away and revoked because of abandonment issues, or sent back home to where they came from to try to prove to reinstate their residency. All right, so what can you do though to make sure that there's less of a chance that you're gonna have a discussion with the officer when you re-enter the country as a permanent resident or green card holder? Well, first of all, make sure that you put in your purse or in your carry-on, whatever you have with you when you go through customs enforcement, some evidence of your ties to the United States, your resident status in the United States. I would take a lease agreement if you have a lease. I would take a letter from your employer or pay stubs that you just were paid last week or the week before. I would bring a bank account statement. I would make sure I have my driver's license. I would, maybe if my kids are enrolled in school, I would have proof of enrollment of their school and that they're returning back to school, that they've only left for a short period of time. I would have an itinerary of what actually I did abroad, like how long I was actually gone. What was I doing abroad? Why did I need to be gone for as long as I was gone? I would have all that kind of stuck in somewhere, like in my purse or my carry-on or whatever you have with you when you're going through customs. So just in case there is an issue and the officer takes you to secondary, which is a different location, and starts questioning you, you could start pulling out documents and say, hey, of course I'm a resident of the United States. Here's my kid's report card. Here's my kid's enrollment in school. Here's my lease agreement that I have right now that's active. Here's my home ownership. Here's the business I run in the United States. All these documents you'll have with you to settle the officer's nerves to think that you possibly abandon your residency because you were gone a little bit longer than maybe normal. Under a year, because if it's over a year, they're gonna have a problem, okay? Now, before we move forward, let me give you a little tip or trick here. If you are going to be gone out of the US as a permanent resident or green card holder for more than a year, then you need to get something called a reentry permit. You have to apply for the reentry permit while you are in the United States before you leave, and you have to have your biometrics taken in the United States after it's filed before you leave. You can have the reentry permit sent abroad to a consulate where you're going to be, so you don't have to be in the United States to receive the reentry permit, but you must apply for it before you leave. And that reentry permit basically is telling the government, look, I'm a permanent resident, the US is my home, but for some reason, whatever the reason is that you have, I have to leave the country for more than a year. And you can leave for up to 2 years on a reentry permit. But I'm not abandoning my residency. So you get a permit, basically a reentry permit, it's a paper that you travel with. So when you come back into the country, let's say a year and a half after you left, you show the officer your reentry permit and there's not going to be any issue. Because you already told them you were going to be gone for an extended period of time and that you had no intention of abandoning your residency. A lot of people that are expatriates to go work abroad will do reentry permits, along with people that maybe need to go abroad for family reasons for a longer period of time. Another thing that will help with not getting issues at the border is don't leave for too long, like we talked about, but also make sure your trips have some kind of reason and they're not so random and they're not so frequent, because weird travel is always going to raise the eyebrows of the officer when you come back, especially for a permanent resident, especially now because they're a little bit more aware of the situation. So if you're going to leave, like I was saying earlier, if you're going to leave for 2 months and then come back for a week and then leave for another 3 months, and then come back for 2 weeks and then leave for another month and then come back for a day and then leave, there's got to be a reason for that kind of random travel and that extensive amount of travel outside the United States. A lot of you out there have jobs that require you to travel a lot. Does that mean that you've abandoned your residency? Absolutely not. Some people travel like 8-10 months out of the year. Athletes sometimes travel that much. So that is fine as long as you have a rational explanation, you're carrying documents that show why you were traveling so much, and also your ties back to the United States, that your home is the United States. You're going to be fine. And as long as you're not out of the country for a full more than a year. But if you're in and out and in and out and in and out, yes, the chances of you being questioned are going to be more than the average person, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be the end of the world, that they're going to take your green card from you. All right? It is very important that you hear me in this video, that what is you are seeing on social media and what you are seeing online is not the reality of what's going on in the airports and the borders when you're entering the country as a permanent resident or a green card holder. Same thing, but called two different things. I want you to hear me say that, because the amount of panic and hysteria that's being caused by the media out there, making people think that if you're a permanent resident, at any moment they're going to take your card away, is not true. It's not true. You hear me? It's not true. The truth is that if you follow the rules and you do what you're supposed to be doing, and you're not leaving for long amounts of time, and you don't have criminal history that's going to bar you from re-entering the country or have your green card taken away, then you are going to be fine. And even if you need to leave for more than a year, there is an avenue to do that, and you will still be fine. Okay? I want you all to hear that, because I have gotten so many phone calls and so much fear that's out there that I really want to do this video to calm you down, tell you the reasons why you will not have your green card taken away, and the reasons why you could have your green card taken away that are based in fact and law. If you need help, if you're more concerned, if you really want to talk to me about it, feel free to reach out and talk to me. If you have a specific circumstance and you're a permanent resident or green card holder and you're outside the United States and you have fear for coming back, please set up a consultation with me. I am more than happy to go through with your particular situation, and we'll work through it and see what we can do to get you back into the United States. But for the majority of you out there that are just traveling normally, taking trips, coming in and out of the United States, calm down, take a deep breath, and stop listening to social media and your friends' story. Listen to the reality, watch my videos. I'm always telling you the truth. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have any questions or concerns, I'll put the link below the video that you can set up a consultation with me at any time. Happy to do it. And please watch my other videos on US visa interviews and other immigration topics that are so important. Below this video are some links. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. Subscribe and like and comment below, and look forward to seeing you next time in my video.